Vince, the Lib Dems did incredibly well in the local elections this week. Why have you done so well?
Well, I think it's partly steady rebuilding based in local government. You remember I was there a few years ago, and we were starting the long march back. And I think combined with the fact that the government is clearly unpopular, centering particularly on the cost of living crisis, but you know, the Partygate issues and so on haven't helped. So in the areas where we're facing the Conservative Party, we've done exceptionally well in the south of England. But as in your part of the country, up north, we've done well in Hull, and we've taken also in places like Barnsley and Sunderland, where you had uninspiring Labour councils, we've cut through there too.
And so, was the main focus of this election, from your perspective, national? You seem to be indicating that it was, you know, the government's unpopularity and the cost of living crisis. Was this a reflection of the government nationally, or was it more an issue of the strength of the Lib Dems locally?
I think it was a bit of each, and clearly the government was unpopular, and that was a factor. But, you know, we do pride ourselves on being active in local government. The borough I live has been under Lib Dem control for a long time, and we keep getting re-elected, and hardly any Tories left. And I think that, you know, simply being able to, you know, run local government well is an important criterion, and something we attach value to. So it is a mixture, and I've no doubt for many of the voters who switched, it was on national issues, though we'll continue to emphasise the council competence issues.
Now, all the experts have been saying that if this result was replicated at a general election, you would see a hung parliament. And I think most of them have said that Labour would be slightly ahead in the number of seats if this had been a general election. So, given that there's every chance of that happening based on what's going on, given your experience, would you advise the Lib Dems to join a formal coalition, perhaps this time with the Labour Party, in order to keep them in government and join them in government? Or after the sort of bruising experience of last time in coalition, would you advise them against it?
I think the latter rather than the former. You know, the experience in government, I think, you know, you were there at the time and often critical from the backbenchers. But I think actually in the coalition government we did a good job and achieved many good things for the country, and we worked with the Tories even though we weren't comfortable with it. But we were punished, and I think politically under the British voting system, for a small party to go into coalition with a bigger one is very difficult and potentially disastrous. So if the scenario you describe happens, and it looks pretty plausible, I suspect the Lib Dems would not join a coalition, but would try to be constructive and support a new government and help it to operate through supplying confidence, or a comparable type of arrangement.
You don't need to worry too much, Vince. I'm still critical from the backbenchers now, so it wasn't anything personal, I can assure you.
I was about to say that is his sole purpose in life, Vince, is to be critical from the backbenchers. Now, what I am always interested about is how stories develop in the paper. So you had the Partygate with Boris Johnson, and there you had Keir Starmer saying he must resign, you know, it was a terrible thing to do. Then we get footage of Keir Starmer with his beer and his curry or whatever it is. Are we going to see next? Because the Lib Dems is a much smaller party in the House and therefore gets less focus from the media. Are we going to find out that Sir Ed Davey too was consuming food, drinking alcohol and having a party? And if he did, would you call for him to go?
I think it's very, very unlikely. I mean, one of the things about Ed Davey, which isn't widely known, is that he is a carer. He was actually looking after his disabled son during who was shielding. So it's a somewhat different scenario. And I don't think we were in a position where a large amount of socialising against the rules was remotely possible. No, I mean, the simple point about Partygate, I mean, I think we probably moving on now, but the simple point about it was that if you do make rules which are very painful and onerous for a lot of people, then you expect the government to apply them. I mean, it's not much more complicated than that.
Vince, while you're on, obviously you're a very accomplished economist. I just wondered, with the cost of living problems that the country's facing, and obviously there's a big argument at the moment about a windfall tax for energy companies. Is that something that you would support, or something that you would caution against?
Well, I think politically it's a no-brainer, but I think, we do need to think a little bit about the wider implications. I mean, if you impose a windfall tax when companies had a windfall of revenue they didn't expect, are you going to subsidise them when they make windfall losses? There is a big issue about what are the windfall profits we're talking about? Are we just talking about the North Sea, or are we talking about global profits? But I think if it is a short-term response to this extraordinary situation where prices have been artificially propped up because of the Ukraine war, I don't think anybody, even in the oil industry, would question the validity of having a tax for this purpose. I mean, Gordon Brown had a windfall tax on the utilities at the beginning of the 1997 government. I think most people accepted that in that context it was reasonable. And I think here it would, as I say, it's a bit of a no-brainer, but there are technical sides of it which we need to reflect on it a bit.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.